Hello there, everyone. My name is Daniel, and I'm tying today a dry fly. I have a web shop that's called Nordic Anglers, and if you haven't checked that out, then please swing by nordicanglers.com to see all the fly tying material and all the fly fishing gear you could ever need. Today we're gonna tie a Danica Ephemera Danica emerger fly. Um, every mayfly has a certain lifespan. They start out as nymphs, and then at one point when it's time to spawn, or they will swim to the surface, and then there is a period of time where it's in the surface where it's struggling to move from the nymph stage into the winged stage. And that stage is what this fly is going to imitate, because in that stage they're very vulnerable. The fish can grab them easily and without any much fuss, because they simply cannot escape. So after they have struggled through and shred their nymph skin, then they become the duns, and the duns are the flies that are standing on the surface with their wings upraised in order to dry before they can fly off. So there's the nymph, there's the emerger, then there's the dun, and then finally there's the spinner. After they had laid their eggs, then they die and they land on the water with their wings spread out to each side. So those are the stages of the mayfly life cycle. And today we're gonna tie an emerger of the Danica, which is the largest mayfly there is in Denmark and in Northern Europe. So here goes. So here goes the Danica Ephemera Danica emerger. So the hook I'm going to use for this one is the Arix 530. It's a hook that is strong enough to battle even big fish, and the big fish will start feeding on these Danicas as well as the smaller ones. The Danica fishing is something that really, because there's so much food in these, that it's something that even the biggest of the brown trouts will feed on. I'm going to use a very thin thread. This is a 12.0 Vivus. 14.0 could be used as well, but for this rather big dry fly, then the 12.0 is a nice option. So I'm gonna move my tying thread all the way down into the hook bend here, and I'm gonna do this because we want this fly to literally have the end tail underneath the surface, the end of the hook underneath the surface, and then the rest of the fly should float. It's gonna be right there in the surface, not sticking too much out, and just in the top layer of the water. The first thing we need is a strand of flesh abou mottled copper. I like this color for this type of imitations. It adds a bit of contrast. It gives the body the segmented appearance, and it's not too shiny, but it has still a little bling, which is something I think adds a lot to a pattern like this. So we're gonna take some fly ride. This is the color cream, the color I've always used for my Danicas. And it's simply just a perfect match. It's the number 12, I think. So we're gonna gradually taper this body all the way up towards the front of the fly here. So it's not gonna be very dense here at the bottom, but then it's gradually gonna become thicker and thicker as we move the dubbing towards the end of the hook, towards the eye. So the way I do this is basically I just dub this on the thread with my fingers, using my index and my thumb to make this kind of elongated. I've called it an elongated sausage before, but it's basically just just a bundle of thread. There we go. As you can see, it gradually becomes thicker and thicker as we move up towards the where all the action is gonna be on this fly, where all the actual tying is gonna be done. There we go. Now I have a bit of room up here, and that is by design, because we need to have some deer hair. We need to have CDC feather looped, and we need to have some CDC in a dubbing loop for this to have the right profile and to float in the right way. As you can see, now that's a bit too far. How about there? That's perfect. Now it's not completely even, this. For some reason, that's better. That's better. It's not that important, but if you can, then try to make these turns as even as possible. It will simply just make the fly look better. It's not important for the fish, I think, but it's important when you it's important to be satisfied with the craftsmanship that you put into a fly like this. And we're gonna take a CDC feather. I'm just gonna remove the really odd looking fibers in the bottom. Then I'm gonna take this CDC feather, and I'm gonna hold every one of the fibers here together, and then we're gonna tie it down in the tip here, just where the dubbing is stopped. There we go. Ideally, so it's the natural curve of the feather is moving upwards. Then I'm gonna take a needle. I'm gonna use the needle to double the CDC feather, and this will create a loop. Didn't work out as intended. This loop should be maybe about half the length of the body. You can twist the feather if you feel it's too widely spread out. There we go. And this actually is going to imitate the not fully developed wing of the fly. And since there's a lot of things going on at this stage of the life cycle of the mayfly, so it's okay if it looks a bit shaggy and a bit rough and a bit bit messy. That's okay. There we go. So now we have this not fully formed wing here on the fly. And this will of course add some because the CDC is floating so high, it will make the fly just hang there in the surface. Next up is we're gonna do a dubbing loop. There we go. Just turning the thread around the dubbing loop to ensure that it stays there. And you can of course apply this type of pattern to tie many different types of emergers. Just be careful that you do not use too much material if you tie this in smaller sizes. This is a size 8. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a CDC feather. As you can see, I have used one side of this feather. That doesn't mean I cannot use the other side, so I'm going to do that for this one. I put that into my CDC multi-clamp because that allows me to cut the CDC very close to the hackle stem and to give me the right look on the fly here. There we go. Now all my CDC is trapped inside my dubbing loop. And then I take my dubbing loop and I load the CDC onto there. I place the CDC clamp inside the dubbing loop. Then I release it. And now I can carefully adjust the length of the CDC. I can move the CDC all the way up to the tying point, and now I have it. And the more CDC you have on this side, the more fluffy it will get, and of course, the longer this is, the more long ones you will have sticking out. I'm sorry about the phone. So now I'm gonna adjust it a bit so this gets a bit fluffy and not that long. There we go. Taking my dubbing reel. This was just the one I had handy. The CF one here, it's really good in the price range. And as you can see, now I have kind of like a dubbing loop that's gonna be make up the legs and just in general make the fly's floatability a lot bigger. So there we go. Just gonna turn this here towards the front of the fly. Give it a bit more raggy and lifelike look. It's just basically gonna look like food. There we go. And then I'm gonna tie down my dubbing loop. Cut my dubbing loop away. And now the finishing touch is going to be to give it a bit more contrast and a bit more floatability, but also to imitate that the wing is almost out. I'm going to take some deer hair. If you have some elk hair, then that's a perfect match. And find something that matches this a bit in color. You know, light brown in some way is nice. Don't use too much of this, because if you use too much, you will overdress the fly, and the fly will not be look as much as something that is an actual insect. So I'm gonna tie down the dubbing, not the dubbing, the deer hair, all the way up here, and I apply 2 turns of the dubbing of the thread, sorry, before I actually start to apply some pressure. And this is to ensure that it stays in place. There we go. And then I'm gonna apply some force. So now we have the deer hair coming out in front, in the back here. I'm gonna take my scissors and then I'm gonna cut away all the points of the there we go. So basically there you have it. Then finally I'm gonna take my whip finish. I'm gonna make a whip finish here underneath the deer hair, close to the eye here. There we go. And now the fly is done. So there you go, Danica emerger pattern that floats the right way, has the right look, is fairly easy to tie, and just outperforms a lot of other patterns that I've tried throughout the years. This is really, really a nice way of doing this. Easy, works, and well, there you have it. So, as always, thank you for watching, and if you haven't done so, then please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to me. Otherwise, swing by my web shop. It's called Nordic Anglers, to see all the materials used here and in many, 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 many other fly patterns. We have about 14,000 different items in stock. So if you're ever in need of anything, then Nordic Anglers is a good bet that you can find it there. So thank you for watching, and good luck out on the water.